So basically, Deepak is around. Deepak, I have a question for you. How you hacked into my system? And you will realize why I asked that question. So thanks for introduction. And before I start, I'd like to thanks to Team Apidays for putting it all together. It's good to see you, all of you, after 2+ years of COVID. I was here for last Apidays in person 2019, and that was big learning experience. And John is building this community together for quite some time. So big shout out to John and team here. That's my LinkedIn and Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter, sorry, in case you want to scan and correct me later. What I do, so I started my career as a developer. I still manage to code as of today. But 4 years ago, I take a switch from technology company to consulting company. So Oliver Wyman is global management consulting firm. We help our client in the digital transformation journey. Before in my work, I used to work with one company, one kind of product to solve one kind of problem at a time. But today, I get an opportunity to work with different set of clients, look at their problem, with different team, different setup, different environment, ecosystem, and try to solve their problem. In last few years, if you have observed that there are many digital bank licenses was given. And we had privilege to work with some of these digital banks to help them launch in the market. So we help them in strategy, go-to-market, user journey, infrastructure, and ecosystem. But this is a bit complicated. It's not easy. It's costly. So we can't go wrong here. And that's my experiences, challenges, opportunities I like to share with you all today. Good? Before I jump into, I want to understand my audience. Shall we know each other better? So how many of you actually understand the cool features and unique challenges of Kubernetes? Okay, few, okay. How many of you get your hand dirty with thrilling world of coding? Very few. So, okay, then I had to switch my things and try to add a lot of analogy with my banking experience, where with technology things I'll talk about. Can anyone help me answer what MVP is? It's pretty common. Yeah, that's correct. Minimum viable product. That's what I'm expecting. So, but today I'm looking for some other definition of MVP. Because MVP served us well to build our product and launch in market quicker, go to market faster. But in today's environment, we need something else. And this is where I was blaming Deepak. He actually hacked into my system. He was well aware that I will present just after him, so he copied the slide. Just kidding. It's not early mover advantage. Yeah, so I think as I supposed to ask at the slide, which company's internal motto was this and why they changed it. But now you're all aware, this was from Facebook, right? And later they changed it, move fast with sustainable, reliable infrastructure or something like that. So that's what we need to think about. When we are building banks, insurance companies, and thinking about MVPs, we need to change our mindset. And rather than thinking just about minimal viable product, we should think about most virtuous product. And what is that? In the era of when we are dealing with privacy concerns, PDPAs, security concerns, we can't go and let our product harm to the end user. You may face challenges of PDPA regulation. There are hefty fines associated with all these things. So idea is to not move fast and break things, but pause, think, calibrate, and move. And in today's ecosystem of available tool and technology, that's way easier. You have API provided vendor players who can take your data, anonymize it, and share with your vendor partner to get insight out of data, get the data back, put in your system, and provide that insight to your end user. Then we have, I'm sure you must have heard of DevOps, and some of you are aware of DevSecOps, which gives us a flexibility to define security at every layer during your build pipeline. That's where you can build great products and think about end user and change MVP to most virtuous product, which still you build fast, but with reliable infrastructure. And thanks to vendor ecosystem, we have that today. So let's talk about neo-digital banks. How many of you have visited a physical branch last time, bank branch? Okay, how many have visited in the last 6 months? 3, 4. That's like, say, 3-4%. How many of you, why you're not visiting your bank branch? Because banks is in your pocket, in your mobile app, right? So these neo-digital banks is trying to solve their problem by providing a seamless digital experience. I'm sure many of you switched to these neo-digital banks must have realized the advantage offered by these banks. I shared an example of one of my friend. He is a CTO of a Fintech, insurtech company. He's supposed to apply for a leading digital bank in Singapore for opening a bank account, business banking account. It took them more than 30 days. Then my friend, out of curiosity, tried this neo-digital bank, and he got his bank account working in 2 days, where his leading bank informed them that we need at least 15 more days to open your bank account. So, but building a neo-digital bank, you need to have core focus on your customers, because there are a lot of regulatory process which is really challenging. And anyone of you working with a bank, okay, there are few of you, right? And you know that whatever you do, you keep regulators in mind all the time, right? And beyond what you do, there are a lot of regulatory reporting need to shared by your bank to different regulators. So these banks rely heavily on tech providers to get the core banking solution, payment solution, and other solution, so they can offer a great seamless digital experience and focus only on the customer. And that's where we help this bank, because we kind of invested our time and put together a framework called Accelerator. So what is Accelerator? And this is a best practice which you can have in your organization as well. So let me explain you step by step. If you want to read about this accelerator, you can Google it, OW Edge or Oliver Wyman Edge. We have detailed architecture and things detailed on internet, but I'll give a brief insight. Accelerate and de-risk. So when we start a new project, many times we have sprint 0, right? What we're trying to do here, we try to build basic DevOps pipeline. We try to build, provision our AWS instance or GCP instance and so on. Then we put kube cluster, right? Things like you do a lot of such things. Then you set up your Jira environment, Confluence, all these things. And you do one by one. Many times I have seen this happening, that org think about very end, and that's a bit challenging. So what we do here, that think through all these best practices and something like infrastructure as a code. We have scripts ready. So on day one, we have your kube cluster in place, your monitoring system in place, your Kafka in place for all streaming and recording logs and blah, blah, blah. So all possible things you can think from infrastructure point of view, we provide at day one. And set those expectations with teams that this is going to be played. Go ahead with. Plug and play. To explain plug and play, I take an analogy of Legos, right? I hope all of you have played with Lego at some point of time in your life, right? So what is Lego, right? Each Lego is a very, very unique piece, do very specific tasks. With this Lego, you use your imagination to build a building or aeroplane or some other unique structure. If I give 100 pieces of Lego to set of groups, each of will come with a very creative piece. So same we try to do with plug and play architecture. We identified a set of vendors who provide service in the banking domain, be it core banking solution, be it payment provider, be it eKYC, be it identity and access management, or anything else you may need. I'll share a last slide at the end of this deck where we identify these vendors and these vendors provide all the solutions to our, I think just inform me, I have less time left, so I'll try to move fast from here. And once you all that, you can just leverage and expand on these things to build your product faster. So I think these are, again, basic architecture principles which set the expectation with the team that you should go with modular API-enabled design, open APIs, single source of data, because that's very important. I've seen organizations struggling to find right data. In my previous organization, we have to build data as a service API layer so that anybody can consume these data. So such practice we want to put from day one. And most important part is monitoring, that whatever you are doing in your org, any system you're putting there should be right monitoring in place. And so what are the benefits of using APIs in digital banks or any other company? Seamless customer experience, I just talked about that you focus on your core customer thing, not anything else. Improve security measures. You can use Okta, they have installed here, rather than doing yourself thinking about security. You can go passwordless as well. There are tools and technology available for authentication, authorization. Use that rather than reinventing the wheel. That way, you can make your product development cycle way faster. And with this approach, we have launched 2 digital banks in South Asia region last year and working with 3 banks this year. Our friend at Mambu, who provide core banking solution, is our partner in one of these banks where we are using core banking solution from them. And that's all API based. API design best practices. I'll not go into detail, but I can tell you, think about a well-designed library. A good analogy to understand. Why? Because for a good API, you need clear documentation. So in a library, if you clear the documentation, you can find where your book is. Same way, you should follow with APIs. Versioning, because there are different versions that you don't want to break your code. Caching, rate limiting to avoid any challenges somebody want to challenge, penetration test, and all these things. So I'll not go in detail because there are some other interesting thing I want to cover here. DevSecOps. You must have heard of DevOps, but how many are well aware of DevSecOps? Okay, that's a good number. So what we try to do at DevSecOps that we think about security from each step, starting from you're choosing your IDE, what kind of plugin you add in that IDE, to penetration testing at the end. And there's in between a lot of layers. So I'll share these slides with you. The next important thing is to think about team and culture. I think today, this morning, Umang talking about team culture. So what we use here is cross-functional agile team, self-forming. It means team can decide for such set of user stories what the right combination of team and how they wanna move ahead. But we want to make sure they are cross-functional. It shouldn't be there that we have one team for front-end, other team for APIs, and they're struggling. And these are API management tools. So whatever API best practices I was talking about, most of these tools takes care of these things. I think there are stalls from Postman, Kong, WSO2, so they can explain this far better than I can explain. So I'll skip the slide. And this is the one I was talking about, that we use different platform technologies, core banking solution, payment hub, open banking solutions, record keeping, risk management, eKYC, customer analytics. These are some of the areas where we have identified vendors. And all these vendors are API enabled. They offer you APIs to connect with your plug and play architecture. We have experience for one bank, we use one core banking solution, but using similar kind of infrastructure allow us to use different core banking solution because the other core banking solution fits better with their requirement. So whatever domain you are working with, I'm sure you managed to find a vendor offering APIs. In most of the cases, may be free to use and provide a great insight to your customers. So what we focus here, please don't reinvent your wheel. Take the advantage of great API ecosystem you have in place. Okay, this slide, I just added before this slide because this morning I was discussing outside and someone asked me, it's great for neobank because they start from scratch. How about legacy banks? So what I recommend that I am working right now with a Japanese bank to offer core solution on their transaction banking experience, liquidity management, that how they can build cool services on top of their legacy infrastructure. And that's why I propose them that you can build a new middleware on top of existing services, and this layer will allow you to take advantage of ecosystem with plug and play architecture to offer additional services to your customers. So I think that's quick 20 minutes given to me. I'm not sure this 20 though, but let's go with that. Any Q&A? That's a tough one, and I don't have a right or wrong answer, but I have an honest answer. And the honest answer is, you need to change from top, put that in mindset that anything you want to change, it's need to be fit in the mind of everyone that these are our goals. In order to achieve these goals, we need this kind of agility to achieve. Other thing which I have observed, there is a resistance to change because it's working fine. Why I want to change? So, but these neobanks will push these legacy banks to change for good, and that's happening.
So the new banks don't realize that if they don't long term now, they're going to lose.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay.
On that slide, you had many different technologies that you're using to get a plug-and-play idea. At what point, though, does it get very difficult to manage that many different disparate products? And at what point would you consider building something in-house to maybe replace some of these products, maybe from a cost reason or maybe from a management reason?
Yeah, it's depend very much on the context. For example, as a neobank, I want to build my core banking solution, then I may need 2 to 3 years to go to market, right? That may not be advisable. But if there is a situation where you are paying very high price, which your customer acquisition cost is getting higher, that's the right idea to build it inside. Regarding managing that, I think with plug-and-play architecture, it's very easy to replace a Lego block and add another Lego block. That's very much feasible. Yeah. You have a question? No? Okay. I think, thank you very much. I hope I had privilege of your time. Thank you very much.